Juneteenth was a celebration that started in Texas to mark freedom or the end of slavery in that particular state. Now, it really wasn't the end of slavery until the 13th Amendment was passed later that year, in December, by Congress, the amendment. But, so, it became a state holiday in Texas in 1980. Now, I'm born and raised in Texas, so we've celebrated Juneteenth my entire life, okay? It's about freedom. Freedom, okay? For black people, okay? It is the only annual holiday or event that actually even acknowledges the reality of slavery in the United States. All right, that's what it is. So things got a little interesting in South Carolina. When in Greenville, this brother decides to have this event, okay? So they erected some banners in South Carolina. Now, we're talking about South Carolina, y'all. That was the first state to secede from the Union because they wanted to keep slavery. So out of anybody, they really wanted to keep slavery. So here are the banners that went up in this city right here. So you see these banners. You got a couple smiling white folks, Juneteenth, and it says an upstate, drop the lower third, please. An upstate celebration of freedom, unity, and love. And so you see now, go back to the other one, because I want you to see the website, because the website is, go back to the other, is Juneteenth, JuneteenthGVL.org, JuneteenthGVL.org. And so obviously that is for Greenville. Well, let's just say that, you know, when those banners got posted, a lot of folks were like, what the hell is this? What the hell is this? Now, so these were the banners, okay? So the organizer apologized for featuring whites and Latinos. So Rueben Hays, who's the executive director of Juneteenth Greenville, he initially defended the banners, saying they intentionally represented a varied spectrum of races. Now, here's what he said in the Greenville News initially. Juneteenth is about celebrating freedom, celebrating culture through music, food, art. Freedom is worth celebrating. I think we can all agree about that. I've celebrated the, now listen. He said, I've celebrated the 4th of July all my life. It's the most important, it's the most American thing you can do, right? But that Independence Day did not include all Americans, and until all of us were free, were we really free? That's why education about the history of Juneteenth is so important. It represents the complete freeing of America. First of all, he's wrong as hell. He don't even know what the hell he's talking about, okay? Now, he was asked, what do you say to people who don't look like you, people who may be reluctant, who might feel like it's not their holiday to celebrate? Like that it is a black holiday, okay? So he then goes on to say, like that it is a black holiday celebrated because it was a black thing that happened. But in order for this holiday to even come, 500,000 Americans had to die in the Civil War. If you really know the history or really understand it, there's no denying that this is one of the most significant holidays in our nation's history, the most American holiday. It's just that it happened on the backs of African-American slaves, and some folks just don't want to make that connection or association. But that's just the fact of the matter. It is an American holiday. Okay, Rueben. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy. Poor Rueben. Well, Rueben got a lot of heat, and a lot of folk had to sit here and jack him up. So he later apologized. After that, those initial comments didn't go over well. So here's his apology. This is from Lil Rueben. We would like to offer an apology to the community for the presence of non-black faces being represented on 2 flags representing Juneteenth. We acknowledge this mistake having been made and will correct the error quickly. This error was an attempt at uniting all of Greenville and thereby a slight oversight on one individual's part that prevented us from fully embracing the rich potential and celebrating the depth of the black culture through the message and meaning of Juneteenth. He did not capitalize black. And for that, we apologize to you, the entire community. The flags in question will be removed as soon as possible. Now, go to my iPad. This is the website. So clearly, they went ahead and made some changes to the website. And then, so you see all of these different events they got down here and all the stuff they're doing. And this is what, blah, 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 blah. This is the whole thing. This is their event schedule. So you see they got Truth and Revelation of Freedom, Freedom Ride, Job Fair, Black Economic Mobility, Royal Gala, Wellness Event, Mega Fest, all that sort of stuff. All different things that you can do in Greenville for Juneteenth. At the bottom it says, honor the proud legacy of Black Americans. Now, let's be clear, Mustafa, and people who understand history. There were white folks, there were abolitionists, there were people who fought slavery, there were people who absolutely believed in freedom for the people who were enslaved of African descent. But what people need to understand is that now that Juneteenth is a national holiday, I really need a lot of black folks in other parts of the country to maybe come holler at us in Texas to learn how Juneteenth is to be celebrated, so they don't screw up this nonsense again.
Yeah, that would probably be to everyone's benefit. You got to be careful also the commercialization that begins to happen to holidays. And when that begins to happen, people then want to make sure that that everyone can feel like they played a significant role in whatever that particular holiday may have been. And even though, as you said, there were abolitionists and other white brothers and sisters who helped, the formerly enslaved folks to find freedom. Representation matters, and the representation should actually be our faces, our successes, our challenges, as the narrative that's going on, and not. We got to be really careful with the whitewashing that often happens in these situations.
See, this happened last year, Randy. You're the DEI disruptor. So this happened in Arkansas, where there was a Juneteenth Soul Food Festival and Market. And it featured the hosts, Rex Nelson, Heather Baker, and David Bazell. And this was in Little Rock, too. So I'm just saying, Randy, again, as a native Texan, as somebody who has celebrated numerous Juneteenths in my 54 years, Arkansas, that's not quite how you might want to celebrate Juneteenth.
I can't help but to laugh because it's just so ridiculous. And this happens every year. We know we're going to see some product that you roll out for Juneteenth that's going to be just an embarrassment. But the sad part is, or the interesting part is how the default is to center white people. White people don't want to be left out of anything. And so that you would advertise about Juneteenth using a white couple, like that there's no correlation whatsoever. So it just shows our propensity for white to lean toward white-centeredness. And his earlier statement, I read a statement that he said earlier about they wanted to ensure that they were being inclusive. And people don't understand that DEI or any efforts around diversity and inclusion came from repairing something. It fixes a problem because most things are already majority white. So you look to diversify, right? You look to include other people and make sure that they feel safe and comfortable and seen. It was not designed to ensure that white people felt included in every story, in every event. Not saying that they cannot participate in it, but they certainly shouldn't be the center of it.
And so if y'all want to understand, again, the folk who don't understand this. So last year, CNN did this broadcast on Juneteenth from the Hollywood Bowl. It was a concert. So this year, now I want y'all to check this out. So this is what CNN announced. Live Nation Urban, live from the Greek Theater, Juneteenth, a global celebration for freedom. And so they're going to simulcast this on OWNs, being produced by Live Nation Urban and Jesse Collins Entertainment. And you see right here from the Greek Theater in Los Angeles, the concert with acclaimed music icons, including Miguel, DeVito, Jodeci, and more to air worldwide. They got SWV, Coy Leray. It's going to be Questlove. Now, so allow me to unpack this, okay? Okay? So here's what I need people to understand about Juneteenth. So this is the education for Black people. Our celebrations in Juneteenth were not solely parties. They were not solely concerts. It was a continual quest for freedom. So when we had Juneteenth events in Houston, we had concerts, barbecues, voter registration, political education, economic education. It was a cornucopia of things because it wasn't just a big old party. Second of all, what CNN gets completely wrong, Juneteenth, a global celebration. Juneteenth ain't global.
Right.
Let me say it again, CNN. I know y'all having struggles with ratings, but clearly y'all didn't have many Black people in the planning of this because Juneteenth is not a global celebration. It's not a worldwide holiday. And so the question I would then have Joe for CNN is, what else y'all gonna talk about besides the concert? In fact, to the organizers of the concert, what else are y'all gonna have at the Greek Theater other than performances? Are you going to have political conversations? Are you going to have economic conversations? Because that's actually what we've always done when we had Juneteenth events. And so what I hope, Joe, is that Black people are not going to allow non-Black people to trivialize and compartmentalize and narrow Juneteenth into another shuck and jive day where Black people entertain us with their talents, but we don't want to deal with all the other stuff that Black folks have to contend with in the continual quest for freedom.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a deal maker, in the practice. So hell, let's make a deal. As soon as we truly are free and we're everywhere we need to be, We will have a celebration. We'll make it global because we want to shout at the rooftops, and we'll even let the white folk be on the posters in South Carolina. But meanwhile, back at the ranch, the situation actually is that we aren't there yet. Not long after this and the Reconstruction, which was just for a brief moment, we had Jim Crow. We had those things roll back, and in South Carolina and other places. This is in another breath where things are happening, laws are getting passed that restrict freedom and that take away and have the potential to bind and oppress. So we're not there. And so, yes, we do need to make sure that we keep our hands to the plow here, for lack of a better term, and continue to move us along, because there is so much work to do, and we cannot allow a holiday to be commercialized, whitewashed, made more attractive, made into a money-making opportunity without not only understanding what Juneteenth was actually about, but the fact that we aren't where we need to be yet. So what are we truly celebrating? Add education, add political action, do something towards organizations that are working towards voting rights. Do something that actually moves us forward. So maybe the few people that had this idea that Juneteenth was going to take us to a place and emancipation was going to take us to the place can still continue along that continuum.
See, the thing that I want us to see, it's called being real intentional. And I'm not just focusing solely on the CNN thing, and I appreciate this. You're having this Juneteenth concert at the Greek Theater, but here's my question. Is the Greek Theater Black-owned? Now, I'm aware, Mustafa, that Jesse Collins Entertainment, Jesse is African-American, owns it, producers, and they just brought them on to do the Emmys, they do the BET Awards, all of that. But see, again, I know my roots. In fact, I'm just going to use us as an example. And so this is the first time I'm revealing this because we just solidified it last week. So on June 17th, the Black Star Network is going to have an event in Houston for Juneteenth on June 17th. And we're going to also on that day make a much larger announcement about something that is going to be on an annual basis. We'll get into that later. But when I was looking for venues, I specifically said, I want a Black-owned venue. So we're going to be at the Power Center, which is owned by Windsor Village United Methodist Church. That's where it was built. They built it. And we already have signed up Black caterer. We're looking at others. And so, again, I understand if I'm going to have a Juneteenth event, I want to make sure Black folks are the ones getting paid. And so what I want our folks to learn to do is to be far more intentional as to how we approach these things. So everybody in Houston, and I'm setting the time, it's probably going to be 12 to 4 on June 17th. But we're literally putting all these pieces together, and we're going to have an economic empowerment conversation. That's how we're actually starting this, because I do not want in the second year that Juneteenth becomes a federal holiday, I do not want us having party conversations and we ain't having no money conversation.
Exactly. It always comes back to the economics and the strategic planning. When you're about to put an event on, the question should be the one that we raised. Who's the venue? Who owns the venue? How will those resources make it back to the communities that we are highlighting? Are we making sure that our contracting and subcontracting that's happening, that it is going back to those Black businesses, that those dollars are so critically needed? So as you said, it is about intentionality, but that intentionality is infused into the strategic planning. If you are serious and you are prioritizing, whether it is Juneteenth or other types of events that come out of our communities, then we have to just make sure that the dollars are actually making it to the spaces and places that need them the most.
And that's the thing, Randy, that I want Black people, as we're watching these Juneteenth events, as we're watching corporate sponsors, I want us to be asking much greater questions. Don't just sign on as a sponsor. What are you doing for Black folks beyond the event?
Absolutely. We need to not accept performative activism. We need to demand more from these corporations and organizations. They feel as if they can put a kente cloth on on some soap, and we think that they are down. No, we want to know, we want to look at your supplier diversity. We want to look at what you are doing within Black communities. What does your board look like? How many advertising dollars are you sending to people like Roland Martin, the Beat, so how are they really doing things to be equitable? Right? If they're talking about it, they need to be about it, and we need not to be bought so easily, because they will get away with what we allow them to.
Well, and don't forget, last year Walmart learned that lesson real quickly when they had their Juneteenth ice cream. Y'all remember that? Walmart had the Juneteenth ice cream, and folk were not happy at all about that Juneteenth ice cream. And see, again, if Walmart had actually called some Black people like me, I would have told them, see, had y'all actually partnered with a Black-owned ice cream company. See, some of y'all gonna pick up on that real. If you had partnered with a Black-owned ice cream company, and then said, we're gonna place your Juneteenth ice cream packaging in all of our stores nationwide, then y'all wouldn't have got the blowback. But the reality is you got the blowback because you were making the money off of Juneteenth, and that's why they apologized. And so I just want to let everybody know, so when y'all start going to these Juneteenth events, be on the lookout for how the events are being put on. And I want you to be asking the critical questions. Are Black people getting paid from this? No, not are Black people planning. No, not are Black people working, but who's making the lion's share of the money of the event? That's what I want y'all to be asking. All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment. When you talk about Blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.